we make our way up to the ceremony, pay attention to the right-hand side. In the very first row, you'll notice a black stone with a picture on the back. Major Elwood Woody Thomas Drive, Tuskegee here. 3 stones in front of him, this tall gray stone with the 4 stars on the front. There's a cross on the back. Very first row, second stone back, Daniel Chappie James Jr. Daniel Chappie James Jr. was the very first 4-star African-American general in the United States Air Force. You know, he helped train that elite squadron known as the Tuskegee Airmen. Those gentlemen flew over 150 missions. They never, ever lost an aircraft they escorted into enemy battle. Now, all those service members who have completed 20 years of active duty military service are eligible for free burial here. Also, those service members who retire from the reserves at age 60 becomes eligible for burial. If you don't meet those requirements, but you do own one of our 7 distinguished military medals, you're eligible for the free burial here. Add to that all presidents and Supreme Court justices. And of course, those military members killed in combat. You know, thanks to President Obama, one of his very first acts was to place into law that any military member killed in combat, regardless of their rank, receives the highest military ceremony that this cemetery offers. To the right on that hill, if you look there, you'll see those memorials to the military chapel. Prior to 1947, Arlington Cemetery was segregated, first by race, then by rank, then by religion. Section 12 is to your left, and Section 12 is what's known as our World War II section. This is our World War II repatriation section. You'll find a lot of service members who were killed and buried during the Battle of the Bulge overseas. Their family members petitioned Congress to have them brought back home, brought here to Arlington and placed in Section 12. You know, this estate is the original home of George Washington Parke Custis. He inherited this property from his maternal grandmother that raised him. His maternal grandmother's name was Martha Washington. You see, in its original condition, George Custis owned 624 acres that were used to bury the service members. Add to that, the grounds we will find the Pentagon, the Ronald Reagan International Airport. This property in its original condition as George Custis owned. You see, he was supposed to this estate began building that house on the hill and Virginia has seceded from this Union vote, so Robert E. Lee, being a native Virginian, had always vowed he would never fight against his home state. So on April 20th of 1861, Robert E. Lee sat down at his desk in his bedroom in this house on this property and wrote 2 letters. You see, one of those letters was addressed to the President of the United States, and inside that letter he resigned his commission from the United States Army. He packed his bags and he left the estate and went to Richmond, Virginia. His wife, the owner of this estate, fled these grounds and went to her aunt's house in Southern Virginia to wait for Rural House, hoping to return to her childhood home at the end of the war. But because of her non-compliance with the property tax of 1862, Mrs. Lee lost her rights to this estate. So that tax act required her to pay a tax on this property in person to the government. She's hiding behind Confederate lines and afraid to come up north because of the war. You see, she failed to pay her taxes. With her non-payment of her taxes, the government confiscated this estate for her non-payment of $92.07. To the left of us, folks, you'll notice the white stones on the hill. You see, these white stones are what we call cemeteries. These hills are what's known as memorial hills. There are 11 memorial hills inside the cemetery with these white stones. You see those white stones on these hills are called cemeteries. Each one of their inscription reads in memory of and contains all the service members' required information. You see those white stones on these memorial hills are empty graves. There are no remains underneath those stones. The names on those stones are the names of service members killed in combat. The Department of Defense could not locate their remains. They were classified as deceased and their names were placed on a stone. To the left, right of us, this is Section 35, and right across Section 35 is the Memorial Amphitheater coming into view. See, the Memorial Amphitheater is used for our Easter morning sunrise service, Veterans Day service, and Memorial Day service. It seats 5,000 people, and on the outside, around the top, you'll notice there have the names of every battle America's been involved with dating back to the Revolutionary War. You see that? belongs to an individual by the name of Captain Burlingame. You know, Captain Burlingame was the American Airlines pilot of flight number 77. You see, he was flying a Boeing 757. He was carrying 10,000 gallons worth of aircraft fuel when it crashed into the Pentagon on September the 11th, 2001. And the rear of this memorial amphitheater, ladies and gentlemen, is the white power model monument that contains remains of the unknown soldier of World War I. On the ground is where you'll find the remains of the unknown from World War II, Korea, and the Vietnam crypt. You know, the crypt for the Vietnam soldier happens to be empty. You know, the mother of Lieutenant Michael Blasey. Now, she refused to believe that her son was missing in action from the Vietnam War. You see, she finally convinced Congress to exhume the remains of the unknown soldier inside that Vietnam crypt. You know, using the latest and greatest DNA technology known to man in 1998, they identified that unknown Vietnam soldier as Lieutenant Michael Blasey, and she took her son home to Jefferson Parish, Missouri. You see, they lowered that young man's empty crypt into the ground. We'll never use it again. You see, they used that crypt to honor all the unknown Vietnam soldiers. With DNA technology, we'll never, ever unknown soldier. In Section 71, you can find the mass burial for the passengers of Flight 77 who they could not separate when it crashed into the Pentagon. With DNA technology, they were able to separate the terrorists from that mass grave so they would not be buried with our American citizens. The next ceremony should start at noon because we are now the funeral procession started 3 minutes into the old ceremony. Up that walkway around that beam by that tree where that sign says, "Please do not toss the coin," you'll find the final resting spot of Major Ali Murphy from Texas. He enlisted in the Marine Corps. They wouldn't take him because they said he was too short. The Army took him. He ended up becoming one of the most decorated combat soldiers from World War II. He went on to earn 28 medals by the time he was 21 years old. Also here you'll see the memorials to the astronauts of the Challenger and the Columbia. At the end of this ceremony, you're going to meet this tram. In front of the Memorial Amphitheater, on the opposite side, underneath that tree, there's a sign that says, "Board Automobile here." Please be underneath that tree, in between those posts, by that sign to pick up the next bus. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the changing of the guard. Ladies and gentlemen, there's also a funeral procession coming past here as well, right in front of us. You're going to see the Navy is coming down. You know, out of respect for the deceased, out of respect for the deceased and the family members, we do not photograph images of service in progress. Thank you very much.